Welcome to Trending Upward, and this is Chad Hayes. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Trending Upward, and I trust that the podcast today will be a help to you. It is my desire that the Word of God be used in such a way on this platform that it would be a help to you as you seek to trend upward. It is important that this life that we live be an ascending Christian life and not a descending Christian life. I trust it to be a help to you as you listen today. Recently, I was at the celebration of life for Dr. Raymond Barber and his memorial service at Worth Baptist in Fort Worth. And over those couple of days, I was reminded of Hebrews 11 and chapter 4. By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. Today I want to come to you with this idea of faith that speaks, and I want to break this down a little bit for us today. But we read of the faith of Abel in Hebrews 11, which is the Hall of Faith chapter. This chapter isn't devoted to those who are weak in the faith. It isn't devoted to those who choose comfort over faith, or security over faith, health over faith, fear over faith, or even prosperity over faith. This chapter is devoted to a very elite group of believers who chose a life of faith over a life of anything else. It consists of a group of believers who chose a life of faith in God over a life of faith in anyone else. So when your life's work has ended, how do you and I have a faith that still speaks? Number one, you're going to have a type of faith that listens and responds. Abel didn't randomly choose what to offer God. Though the text in Genesis 4 doesn't give exhaustive details, Hebrews 11:4 clarifies something very powerful, and it's that Abel acted by faith. In Romans 10 and verse 17, we see faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So that suggests that Abel's offering was in response to something that God had made known. Now, I want to remind us of something today. True faith listens for God's voice and responds with obedience. Abel's faith spoke because he first listened. One will never learn to live by faith until one learns to listen. Hebrews 10 and verse 38 says, "The just shall live by faith." You break this down some more, one will never be just either without first listening. If faith only cometh by hearing the word of God, then it's the word that precedes it all, following by a listening ear, a humble heart, which puts the word into practice. Now, this only makes sense. How can one act in faith towards God if they haven't even heard from God what their step of faith would be? And I tell you today, faith is hard for two reasons. Number one is because hearing can be hard, which is the first step to faith. We just looked at that. But also acting on what you heard can be hard. Sometimes we need help hearing. The Lord knows this. He compels us to draw nigh. We then draw nigh, and He draws nigh to us. He then shares with us what He would have us to do, to say, to go. Then we need help to come through on what the Lord has spoken to our hearts, and then surrender to what the Lord has said. And by walking with Him and being obedient to His word, we then live by faith. So it's a faith life. It's not a logical life or even a sensible life. If it was a logical or sensible life, then man could say that it was only by his good logic or his good senses that he's been able to achieve all that he has. So faith won't always be logical at first. Faith won't always be sensible at first. But if it was, it wouldn't be faith. All these men and women in Hebrews 11 lived a life of faith, and because they did, their lives speak to us today. Notice also, in order to have a faith that speaks, you must have a faith that honors God above self. Abel's offering was described as more excellent than Cain's, not because of outward value, but because it flowed from a heart that honored God. This concept here truly flips the script of the human mind. In the human mind, man would say the one who gives the most or gives the best would have the most faith. But this idea gets completely flipped when we consider verses like Mark 12, verses 41 through 44. And Jesus sat over against the treasury, and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury, and many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and saith unto them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. So it's not in how much or in how little you give, so long as you are obedient. It's a matter of the heart. We serve a God in heaven that beholds the heart. When we consider Abel, Abel gave what was firstborn and what was best. Genesis 4 and verse 4. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But what Cain do? Cain gave some of his harvest, but Abel gave the firstlings. It was costly. It was a faith-filled gift. A faith that speaks must put God first, not second. It holds nothing back, and it believes God is worthy of the best. We've got to get back to this mentality. It's a mentality that God deserves our best and not what's left. So many wear themselves out in the world, secular activities, social events, work, etc., then have nothing left for the Lord. And many don't cut out work or secular activities for church for the Lord's work. They'll sacrifice the Lord's work. Many will tragically at times even sacrifice church. Now, when we take a step back and we observe our plate, what we sacrifice on that plate reveals a great deal about ourselves. If you consider this, when you have 2 things and we step back and we say, I can do this or I can do that, but I cannot do both. What do you choose? Whatever you choose in that event speaks a lot about your priorities in life. I'm not trying to be critical today. I speak to myself also because we all recognize that life is a juggling act. So many times we also tragically desire to make deals with God. If I have anything left over, Lord, then I'll give you some. But that's not what the Lord wants. The Lord recognized in Mark 12, as we just read, that some gave only because they had an abundance. But the widow gave from her lack of abundance. This means she didn't have the money to give, but she gave it anyway. Now the Lord would have been pleased with those who gave much. If he knew in their hearts they would have given much, even if they had little. But in their case, the Lord discerned their hearts, and he saw them as givers because they had it to give. If in their minds they didn't have it, they wouldn't have given it. So it's a reminder to us that God discerns the thoughts and the intents of the heart and discerns our motives. If you want a faith that speaks, you're going to have to give God your best mind, your freshest mind, your best self, your freshest self, your best time, your best energy. Give God all of you and the best of you, the best gifts. And the best gift you can give God is you. And the best sacrifice that can be made for God is you. We're going to pick up with this thought on a faith that speaks in our next episode. I'd like to thank you for listening today to Trending Upward. If it's been a help to you, I invite you to share this podcast with someone and help get the word out on how they too can trend upward in their walk with God.